Alright, what is up, my entertainment junkies? And we are back with another reaction video. How strong are the U.S. Special Forces in 2024? I don't know much about Special Forces. I know about, Army Green Beret, Airborne Rangers, Air Force Pararescue, obviously the SEALs. I think Marine Corps Force Recon. But I don't know much about what they do, how they operate. Well, I know somewhat how they operate. And fun fact, not everybody in the Special Forces Command is an operator, which means they do shit behind the scenes while the main people go on missions. That's about all I know, so let's watch this.
It's 2011. A pair of helicopters carrying 23 Navy SEALs, a combat dog, and an interpreter descend over Abbottabad in Pakistan. This is the location the United States believes is home to Osama bin Laden, the mastermind behind the 9/11 attack. The SEALs on board are
SEAL Team 6!
squadron of Navy SEAL Team 6. They've been chosen for this raid because they've recently returned from operations in Afghanistan. Their leave was suddenly canceled, but this worked out in their favor, as they were able to rehearse without attracting any unwanted media attention. Still, rehearsals can't account for everything, with the team experiencing an unanticipated issue as they reached the compound. One of the helicopters destabilized, forcing a hard landing. Nobody was harmed, and the Navy SEALs were able to continue their mission as planned. Once inside the compound, the team of SEALs makes their way to a guest house in which they believe bin Laden's couriers live. As they prepare to blow the door, they're fired upon from inside. First contact. The SEALs return fire before opening the door to discover the body of Abu Ahmad al-Kuwaiti. Bin Laden's primary courier is dead. At the same time, a second team of SEALs has penetrated the compound's main building, where they've killed a second courier, and that courier's wife, as well as Khalid bin Laden. Osama is the...
Okay, they're not giving enough context. Why did they kill the wife? She went for the gun. That's all I'm gonna say about it. The stuff that they had to do in the Middle East is really fucked up, but you have to have the whole detail whenever someone tells you about someone that you don't think deserves to be killed.
The only target left. After making their way up to the third floor of the main building, the SEALs break through Osama's door, shooting him dead in his room. But their work isn't over. After collecting electronics, documents, and any other materials that American intelligence teams will find useful, both teams make their way back outside. There, they blow up the helicopter that had been forced to make a hard landing, destroying its stealth technology. Then they board the remaining helicopter along with bin Laden's body and the documents they've gathered to make their escape. The entire operation took just 45 minutes, with the SEALs being in and out before Pakistani authorities were able to mobilize a response. It's the perfect demonstration of the capabilities of a U.S. Special Operations Force, or SOF. These SOFs are the groups the U.S. military has in place to conduct special operations for which the standard military isn't capable. These SOFs are filled with soldiers who are specially trained in specific techniques and equipped with the best equipment the U.S. military has to offer. To many on that day in 2011, they became legends of the American Armed Forces.
Alright, stealth technology, the whole thing about, yeah, we blow up our own shit so that the enemy doesn't get it. We have the most technologically advanced Air Force, Navy, and ground forces. We don't want the... So everything you know about that we have in the U.S. military is, you probably know about a third of what we actually can do, what we have in the actual capabilities of our stuff. Because there's a point in keeping it secret. Because if the public knows, that means any current or potential enemies know. And if they know what we can do, they can know how to counter it. If we keep our capabilities hidden or lie about them to make us seem worse, then they'll plan for the worst option, and we'll be able to take them out with what we can actually do. So everything in this video, just think of it as the family-friendly version, because what they can actually do, you're not gonna know about. We're not gonna know what they do for another 30-40 years. Bin Laden is a freaking outlier in this. Like, we knew almost immediately, but that was for more of a morale boost to the American people, and more so we can get support. But generally, everything they do is kept highly classified for, like, hell, I think most of the stuff is, like, they just released some stuff from 70 years ago. Yeah.
Forces. But what if the raid happened today? How strong are the U.S. Special Forces in 2024? There are 9 we'll cover in this video, including the Green Berets, Night Stalkers, Army Rangers, Delta Force, Navy SEALs.
I forgot about Delta Force. I don't know what the Night Stalkers are.
SWCCs,
Swick,
Marine
I forgot
Also,
about them.
Marine Force Recon, and Air Force Special Tactics Group.
Oh. I always thought that Force Recon was MARSOC was a overall... Huh. I was in the Marine Corps and I don't even know about this shit.
So, to answer the question of how strong America's Special Forces are, we need to dig into each of these groups, what they do, and what they represent for the U.S. military. We'll start with the Army Green Berets. The Green Berets are typically tasked with fighting against terrorists by employing guerrilla warfare-style techniques. They usually operate in foreign countries, though they're trained to fight in practically any environment, from dense jungle to expansive urban sprawl. Unconventional warfare is the group's modus operandi, and it's typically employed to help foreign countries improve their internal...
They are really skirting around what they actually do.
Though a soldier can technically qualify for the Green Berets straight from basic training, typically by undergoing specialist training on top of basic, most come from the U.S. military's enlisted soldiers. To be eligible, an enlisted soldier must have a pay grade of E3 or above, meaning they're on the 3rd level of the enlisted soldier's pay scale and are qualified to receive secret clearance. SOPC includes an initial 2-week trial.
What? I had a secret clearance right out of boot camp, and I only need 2. Army's weird, man.
In which candidates are vetted, with the following 61 weeks reserved for those who make it past the first 2. The Green Berets are among the largest of America's SOFs, with the branch typically having 5,500 active duty members at any one time, along with about 1,100 who serve with the National Guard. However powerful as this SOF may be, it's been struggling with recruitment in recent years. That's according to military.com, which notes that 2022 saw the Green Berets attract just 779 recruits,
Alright,
compared to the 1,300.
I'm gonna say what what Green Berets do. They come in, get rid of either start a revolution or get rid of a dictator, implement a leader that they think is good for American benefit factors, and then leave. They don't do guerrilla warfare. They train the citizens to fight for them. You don't need many Green Berets to do that. Ugh. I hate how they skirted around that so hard.
Attracted in 2021. Still, it's a formidable force that brings a high level of versatility to the U.S. Special Forces. Have you ever wanted to create videos of your own, but didn't know where to start or felt it would be too difficult? Well, that's where InVideo AI comes in. InVideo AI is the most used AI video creator, with over 10 million users across 150 plus countries.
3 days ago, I had to watch this.
Video creator tools, and InVideo AI is the only one that puts you in the driver's seat and works as your personal sidekick to help you with the painstaking tasks of scripting, editing, and finding relevant footage so you can bring your ideas to life using simple text prompts. All you have to do is share a simple text prompt, and it creates the first rough draft for you. From there, you can get creative and fine-tune your video using just text prompts in ways you have never imagined. Want to change the intro? Done. Want to find the best footage for a scene? Done. Want to translate your video to Spanish? Done. The best part, clone your voice and make it narrate the video in your voice in any language. Now, this isn't just any submarine. This is a game changer. While plenty of
That's sketchy.
Or that AI is replacing humans in some way, we feel the complete opposite. That it's simply a tool that can help you level up your skills and bring projects to life that you never could have before. Plus, InVideo AI...
For anyone who wants to try... Let's see... Voice clone. I might have some uses for this. 100 gigabyte storage, 400 gigabyte storage, 80 image stock, 50 minutes of AI generation. Huh. $48. Ooh, that's actually pretty
I
pricey
can
though.
save you hundreds of dollars every month compared to what you'd have to spend on editing tools and stock footage subscriptions. Just go to the link in the description and use my code to get twice the number of video generation credits in your first month. Now back to the video. Next up,
Eh.
Army Night Stalkers. This is the name given to the members of the 160th Special Operations Aviation Regiment, all of whom are extremely talented
Uh.
aviators. Their primary role is to run nighttime operations internationally using helicopters, such as the assault on Bin Laden's compound. While the Navy SEALs took the headlines in that assault, it was the Night Stalkers pilots who got the SEALs in and out of Bin Laden's compound.
So Air Force or
It contains 4 battalions,
nope.
and it calls Fort
Army.
Campbell in Kentucky its regimental headquarters. Combined, the 4 battalions include
Why does Army have so much special
members,
forces?
including support personnel, with each battalion having access to highly modified light, medium, and heavy choppers to ensure the versatility needed to take on a wide array of missions. As the United States Army Special Operations Command puts it, a member of the Night Stalkers is a 3-time volunteer. First for the U.S. Army, then airborne training, and then once again for the regiment. So we've already been seeing a pretty comprehensive collection of special forces to start from. The Green Berets handle the complex operations in foreign countries on the ground, with the Night Stalkers playing a key role in getting other SOF members in and out of operational locations. The third of the U.S. Army's SOFs is the Army Rangers. Train, endure, overcome. Those 3 words serve as the 75th Ranger Regiment's motto, and they're needed as the SOF handles a range of operations. These include special raids behind enemy lines, in which they seize or destroy targets. Forcible entry falls under their remit, with a particular focus on taking control of airports and similar large complexes.
Yeah.
Intelligence on enemies via reconnaissance, also a key Army Ranger task. Then comes the training. The U.S. Army website says the training is split into 3 phases: Benning, Mountain, and Florida. In Benning, the prospective Army Ranger learns the tactical fundamentals needed to be a part of the crew and undergo tests of their physical stamina. From there, they move into the mountain phase, where they're stationed at Camp Frank D. Merrill to learn about military mountaineering and various techniques for employing platoons in mountain environments.
Yeah.
Finally,
So if you think that, why do we need special training to go into different terrains? Fighting is fighting. No. You have to be adapted to higher climates in the mountains. You have to be adapted to drier air in the deserts. You have to know which supplies you need to bring, how long will the supplies last, how long will your men last, with what supplies. The logistics are different. Then the morale of the soldiers, because you take somebody from Alaska and throw them, for example, and throw them in the deep south, they're gonna die because the heat will get to them. You take somebody from the deep south, throw them in Canada, we're gonna fucking hate the cold, and we're not gonna want to move that much. You have to adapt them. That's why we need the special training. Also, how your foot movement, how hard is it to go through snow? They have to know how all these different environmental factors affect their movement, so that they can be more efficient in how they're going to finish the mission.
they move into the Florida phase, switching the training focus to waterborne operations, with stream crossings and small boat techniques coming into play.
Hey, stop stealing Marine Corps' job.
It's typically around 3,500 people strong, with a small contingent of civilian support personnel. Each member of the Army Rangers has completed its brutal training regimen and will often be responsible for spearheading the American attack into new territory. Through the Army Rangers, the U.S. military special forces add versatility and key skills in ground-based operations. But what if the United States needs to deal with a specific terrorist threat? That's where the famous Delta Force comes into play. Also known as the 1st Special Forces Operational Detachment Delta, Delta Force is an extremely secretive unit that typically handles America's covert counterterrorism needs. This includes handling covert raids, rescuing hostages, and in some cases direct combat engagement on the ground. The organization finds its roots in the Green Berets.
I have no clue what about any of Delta Force. I've just heard the name.
In the United Kingdom Special Air Service, or SAS. Having worked with the SAS in Malaya, Beckwith noted that the U.S. needed a special forces organization composed of small and agile groups that could handle delicate operations. Delta Force was born. Delta Force often pulls its members from other SOFs, including the Army Rangers and Green Berets. Though any soldier aged 21 who's actively serving in the U.S. Army, in the National Guard, or part of the reserves can apply. The candidate needs to have airborne qualifications or be willing to study for them, and must have a near spotless disciplinary record. Assuming he meets the criteria, the candidate then completes a 4-week training course that's modeled after SAS training. This course includes a timed 18-mile ruck march, in which the candidate hauls a 35-pound rucksack while navigating through unforgiving terrain.
Just 35.
Another 40-mile march
Oh,
sees
terrain,
the
that's the big thing.
45-pound rucksack in steep terrain. There's more. The few who pass this selection process enter the operations training course, which lasts 6 months and is designed to turn a raw recruit into a Delta operator. After that, they're assigned to a Delta Force squadron, and they're ready to go. As for the squadrons, Delta Force has 4 primary assault groups, labeled A to D, each of which has 75 members that split into 3 25-person troops. 2 of these troops focus on direct action, such as the hostage rescues mentioned earlier, with the other handling reconnaissance, sniping, and infiltration. Further segmentation occurs within the troops as Delta Force follows the SAS model by deploying teams of between 2 and 6 people during operations. Delta Force has several secondary squadrons, including Squadron E, to handle aerial operations. Members of that squadron often fly MH-60 Blackhawks, MH-47 Chinooks, and MH-6 Little Birds.
The Army's still using the Chinook?
Tertiary squadrons focus on training.
God, we got rid of the frogs recently, but...
The Computer Network Operations Squadron, or CNOS, which handles computer hacking and cybersecurity operations. Typically, Delta Force will have around 2,000 members at any one time, though only between 200 and 300 of those members will be operators who get assigned to combat missions. If
that sounds about right.
Delta Force would be well suited to taking out Osama bin Laden, then you'd be right. It shares the same counterterrorism goals as the Navy SEALs. And with that, we'll move on to the SOF that opened the video. The Navy SEALs handle a range of counterterrorism operations, focusing on...
SEAL stands for Sea, Air, and Land.
They're often deployed when the United States needs to take out or capture...
I had to think about that for a second, I don't know why.
...such as the previously mentioned bin Laden. And like Delta Force, they're usually deployed on covert operations that require a great degree of training and secrecy. President John F. Kennedy established the SEALs in 1962 to offer the U.S. military an agile maritime force that could handle aspects of unconventional warfare. Like Delta Force,
Kennedy?
SEALs usually deploy in small units to take out specific targets, though they'll also handle underwater reconnaissance and clearing routes to enable larger forces to conduct amphibious landings. Becoming a SEAL is no easy task. The initial entry criteria includes achieving a strong ASVAB score and meeting eyesight requirements. Candidates can't be colorblind and must have 20/40 vision in their best eye and 20/70 or better in their worst. There is an age cutoff. Candidates can be no older than 28, and all candidates...
Hey, I can still be a SEAL if I wanted to.
...for divers. Then the training starts. After passing through Recruit Training Command, also known as boot camp, the recruit completes a 12-month training course.
Fuck y'all! If I wanted to be a SEAL, I don't even have to go through boot camp! I'll let y'all wonder about what that means.
That includes Bud School, underwater demolitions training, and parachute jump school. During those 12 months, the candidate endures the brutal Hell Week, which NavySeals.com calls the defining event of Bud's training. Over 5.5 days, the candidate has their mental and physical endurance tested, often while operating on less than 4 hours sleep. Running, swimming, carrying boards, and paddling are constant, as are physical exercises. This week is designed to push the candidate to their physical limits, but the mental challenge is often the toughest to handle. The SEALs want to know how their candidates can handle being exhausted, soaking wet, and approaching hypothermia. As for the SOF strength, the Navy SEALs...
How do they hang out with the Marines? They go through that because their freaking structure fucking shit.
2,450 operators at their disposal. By now, you're starting to see a trend. Each of these SOFs is a relatively small force trained to an elite level to cause maximum damage to the enemy. But in the case of the SEALs, it's not just the SEALs themselves who an enemy has to worry about. It's the SOFs that support the SEALs. That brings us to the Navy SEALs mission, or more famously, SEAL Team 6. A special team within the Navy SEALs, SEAL Team 6 was founded following the Iran hostage crisis, in which Iranian students seized the U.S. Embassy in their country and held 52 Americans hostage for 444 days. The crisis was an attempted rescue of the hostages in 1980, in which an SOF was supposed to fly in, extract the hostages, and fly out. It failed spectacularly. 2 of the 8 helicopters on the mission malfunctioned before arriving at the staging area,
That sounds about right.
breaking down once it was on site. The SOF decided to withdraw, only to see one of the operational helicopters collide with a support craft, killing 8 soldiers. The debacle forced a rethink in how the U.S. military carries out hostage extractions, with SEAL Team 6 being born from that rethink. Specifically, the
When was
aftermath
the
of the
Iranian
failure of
hostage
Operation Eagle
crisis?
Claw in 1980. Technically, the group no longer exists. It was
85?
disbanded and absorbed into the Naval Special Warfare Development Group, or DEVGRU, in 1987. But the SEAL Team 6 moniker has
Or is
stuck
it 4?
because, let's be honest, it's cooler and catchier than DEVGRU. And today it's a unit of around 300 Navy SEALs divided into
Ooh,
4
I was
key
wait.
squadrons:
79 to
red,
81.
blue, gold, and silver. Each of those squadrons contains about 50 operators who are divided into 3 groups and then divided again into teams of assaulters and snipers. There are also suggestions that SEAL Team 6 has a gray squadron, which is dedicated to maritime operations, as well as a black squadron, which handles reconnaissance and surveillance. So, think of SEAL Team 6 as an SOF within an SOF. It's the arm of the Navy SEALs that handles hostage extractions, though it's also often used in counterterrorism operations and even to protect VIPs in sensitive
Sure,
situations.
counterterrorism.
SOF that's adjacent to the SEALs. There's also the Naval Special Warfare
It
Development
was
Group,
definitely there
or
before terrorism. It had nothing to do with the
NSCC. For
oil.
a Navy SEAL to conduct their counterterrorism operations, they need people to insert and extract them. We saw that in the operation to kill bin Laden, as the SEALs worked alongside the Night Stalkers to enter the Al Qaeda leader's compound. For amphibious insertions, that task falls to the SWCCs. They operate the small vessels that get the SEALs in and out of areas and handle a lot of intelligence gathering needed for such missions. That includes tracking shipping traffic and gathering information about enemy military installations. The SWCC also takes part in direct raids, typically focusing on waterborne threats and enemy shipping, as well as handling all the maintenance needed for the ordnance systems, electronics, and small boats required for special operations missions. Think of them as a supporting SOF. To become an SWCC member, a candidate must complete boot camp at Recruit Training Command before moving on to a
Still
special
don't have to do
assignment
boot
mission.
camp.
This includes 2 weeks of indoctrination held in Coronado, California, in which the candidate is prepared for physical and psychological trials that lie ahead. Next up is a 5-week basic crew member training course covering basic water competency and boat handling. Then comes full crewing qualification training, a 15-week course covering the advanced skills and tactical
Well,
understanding
as long as
the
that rule didn't
SWCC
change, I don't
member
have to
needs
go
to
through boot
have for
camp.
their role in special missions. Though closely associated with the Navy SEALs, the SWCC supports any SOF that requires amphibious entry to and extraction from a target. They are an elite force. There are always 600 active duty SWCC operators at any one time, with a further 125 reserves. Sticking with the U.S. Navy, we move on to the SOFs that are part of the U.S. Marines. First up, Marine MARSOC, otherwise known as the Marine Raiders. Founded in February
Yeah, I was about to say,
2016,
I'm pretty sure this is
MARSOC is an
relatively new.
SOF that's capable of conducting counter-terrorist operations, as well as engaging in reconnaissance and direct
Let's
action
give the
against
Crown
enemy
Eaters more
targets.
training.
However, the reason it was founded, and one of its primary tasks, is to offer foreign internal defense. This involves working alongside foreign governments and their militaries to train them in the skills they need to maintain their own national security. So, we see
Yep.
another aspect of U.S. SOFs emerge. While most of these groups focus on conducting operations to protect the U.S., with MARSOC being no different in some respects, the Marine Raiders have a secondary role that allows the U.S. to build stronger ties with other countries. Those relationships protect the U.S. even further, as having allies in far-flung places is always advantageous. As for getting into MARSOC, the candidate first has to complete the organization's assessment and selection phase, which is essentially a test of their physical and mental acumen. From there, they enter a 4-phase
Well, I would
leadership
never
training
be
program
going
that
there.
covers the basic skills they'll need to survive in the SOF, followed by small unit tactics, close quarters battle strategy, and aspects of irregular warfare. Assuming the candidate passes, they join a team of around 3,500 people, 1,000 of whom are active Marine Raiders. The rest are civilians and support personnel, though it's typical for all who serve with MARSOC to be referred to as a Marine Raider, regardless of whether they've completed MARSOC training. Next up, Marine Force Recon. Though many of the U.S. Marines Force Recon personnel have been integrated into MARSOC, the Marine
Okay,
still
that's what I
maintains
thought.
several dedicated units that are, as the name implies, focused on gathering battlefield intelligence. Think of Force Recon as the SOF that shapes the battlefield. Their members handle scout swimming, small boat operations, and coastline reconnaissance, gathering intelligence that other SOFs use in their operations. Then there are the green operations. These combine ground and amphibious reconnaissance, with Force Recon usually gathering
I
information
love
from
how they
ground
draw them
and
smiling.
reporting that information to their commanders.
Like,
The difference with these missions is that the Force Recon
the only time a
soldiers
Marine is
operate
smiling is
within
when
their
he's drunk.
territory. Often their work places them beyond the boundaries of support that would otherwise be offered by artillery or naval gunfire, meaning
Well, he
shooting
might be
is a key
drunk.
weapon in a Force Recon member's arsenal. It's an even more important weapon than the member's actual weapons. If a Force Recon soldier has to fire their gun, they've failed to carry out their mission properly. The information these special operators gather can mean the difference between success and failure in a military operation. Currently, Force Recon has 835 members, divided into 167-member companies. 3 are on active duty, allowing 1 per Marine Expeditionary Force. The other 2 teams are kept in reserve. Finally, there's Air Force Special Tactics, otherwise known as the 24th Special Operations Wing.
Is that pararescue?
Units fall under this banner, including the 720th Special Tactics Group, the 724th Special Tactics Group, and a host of overseas squadrons. Collectively, these units are responsible for most of the aerial support other SOFs require and aiding the wider U.S. military. The group's website divides its operations into 4 distinct categories. First up, global access. Whenever the United States or one of its allies needs to set up a landing zone or airport, Air Force Special Tactics is usually involved. It handles the assessment and opening of these locations, regardless of whether they're in peaceful or hostile
Hold on.
territory, ensuring the U.S. military has the facilities it needs to enable aerial
Uh,
access to a location. Air Force Special Tactics also
Are they not
makes
gonna
decisions
talk about
based on
pararescue?
exactly what it sounds like. The SOF coordinates with aerial teams to direct munitions to targets. However, this category has a secondary aspect in which the SOF also uses its skills to direct humanitarian aid to appropriate locations. Here we see a similar spirit of international cooperation as we see in MARSOC's work with foreign governments. Air Force Special Tactics is as important for helping the U.S. build alliances as it is in supporting the U.S. Air Force in its
I'm
strikes.
sorry.
Next, personnel recovery. Like several of the other SOFs we've examined so far, Air Force Special Tactics maintains teams capable of extracting people from difficult positions. Its people handle mission planning and
Okay, here's
the technical
pararescue.
aspects of aerial rescues. It's also the treatment side, with this arm of the SOF containing specially trained medical personnel who can help
I
those
think.
being extracted
Maybe.
while they're in an aircraft. Building on that medical aspect, there is the final category of battlefield surgery. Air Force Special Tactics maintains Special Operations
No,
Surgical
this isn't.
Teams, or SOSTs, which are lightweight units of mobile medical specialists who are capable
Oh,
of
God.
performing life-saving surgery anywhere. SOSTs are often deployed ahead of traditional medical personnel and will enter combat zones with tailored backpacks that allow them to operate with a much smaller footprint than other SOFs. These teams usually only contain 6 members, with their job simply being to keep the injured alive as they await extraction. With such a wide-ranging remit, it's difficult to find information about the specific training that members of this SOF undergo. Some will focus more on flying, while others are more heavily trained in medicine. Still, the
Alright.
SOF
Yep, that
maintains
pisses me off.
1,580 personnel, about 1,450 of whom are military versus around 130 civilians. So where does all this leave us in terms of assessing the strength of America's Special Forces in 2024? It's clear that the U.S. Special Forces can handle practically any mission due to the large number of SOFs it maintains. Versatility is the key word.
Yeah, let's go with this one.
Teams are trained in everything.
Alright. They didn't talk about the pararescue.
Greatest things
So,
an individual can do is risk their life to save another. Air Force pararescuemen do that for a living, specifically trained and equipped to execute the most dangerous and technical rescue operations worldwide, regardless of enemy threat or environmental
Yep.
conditions. If a service member is in need of assistance or help, there's no length a PJ won't go to get them to safety. PJs are quite literally the guardian angels of the U.S. military.
which is why I'm wondering why they didn't include them in that video.
In certain circumstances, if you need to be saved, you can bet that a PJ can get the job done. Air Force PJs have been risking their lives to save another for decades.
Since
The most
1946.
decorated enlisted field in the Air Force. Their Medal of Honor, 12 Air Force Crosses, and 105 Silver Stars speak for themselves. There are several stories and accounts of PJs heroically saving personnel and sacrificing themselves, affirming their dedication and commitment to saving lives and self-sacrifice. But what is an Air Force PJ? How are they so effective at saving lives? What makes them so legendary in the
Their
SOCOM?
training is
And for those with the
brutal.
courage and ambition to embark on the journey to becoming one, what does it take? We're going to answer all those questions for you and much more.
I hate how the Air Force's uniforms hat is a fucking ball cap.
When a civilian needs rescue, they call 911. When a Navy SEAL, Green Beret, or Army Ranger on a mission needs rescue, who do they call? Well, if you didn't get the memo by now, they call the PJs. In fact, PJs are the only specialty in the military specifically trained and equipped to conduct conventional or unconventional rescue operations. Whether you're shot down, isolated behind enemy lines, surrounded,
Hey,
engaged,
what
wounded,
fucking
or captured by the
fuck that
enemy,
piece of
they
shit.
will do whatever
Fuck
it
you,
takes to bring
you
you home.
fucking Osprey asshole.
PJs
That
are
thing
heroes in
is
danger,
fucking
and
piece
who
of
can
shit.
rescue you from your boredom? That's where Raid Shadow Legends comes in. Today's
How old is this
sponsor,
video?
Raid is the first game to bring a true
2 years
console
ago. Cool, I can skip
experience
it.
to your phone. The newest addition to Raid, get in game. Good luck on your journey. Now back to Air Force PJs. PJs are combat medics and rescue specialists, meaning that not only do they have to learn how to save lives, they gotta learn how to fight too. That's what makes them unique in the soft community. They put an emphasis on both their medical capabilities and their lethality. It comes with the job description. If you want to save people from dangerous situations, you gotta be dangerous yourself. This is what
Yeah.
enables them to operate in the full spectrum of personnel recovery. Make no mistake, while a PJ is ready for almost anything that gets in front of them, if they could have it their way, they'd want to get in and get out and avoid any unnecessary confrontation.
I'm pretty sure that's everybody.
No muss, a PJ once said. Unlike other operators who search and destroy, PJs search and save. They're just as accurate with their weapons as they are with their syringes, and just as skilled in taking lives as they are saving them. They're quite literally the jack of all trades, and are often embedded in other soft units for their medical and operator expertise. Air Force PJs primarily operate in two distinct capacities in the Air Force: rescue squadrons and special tactics squadrons. The rescue squadrons are where you see a majority of the PJs, where they stand by and train constantly in all things search and rescue. The special tactics squadrons are where you see them in more of an operator capacity. And believe it or not, some of the National Guard PJs are in squadrons where they're tasked with saving civilians.
Oh yeah, there is an air guard, isn't there?
Such as those in Alaska. Regardless of where they're placed, PJs are renowned and utilized for their extensive medical capabilities. Each PJ is a registered paramedic walking out of the pipeline, and constantly improves and perfects their medical knowledge as the needs and demands of the search and rescue missions evolve. To name a few, they learn minor field surgery, pharmacology, combat trauma management, advanced airway management, and military evacuation procedures. This is why so many soft units want and need a PJ embedded with them. They're the perfect addition with the skills they possess. But don't think soft units are the only ones wanting to work with these elite warriors. Because of their expertise in helicopter operations,
Yeah.
water rescues, mass...
I'm also gonna. There are two people you don't want to mess with, who you don't want to target when you're fighting an American military member. You don't want to target their leader, because unlike other command structures, our leader is not a leader. He's a freaking regulator. You take out another country's commander, that's it. They scatter and go into chaos. You take out an American commander, yeah, let's just say that they're gonna get you. And the other one you really don't want to touch is Doc. Because if you touch Doc, I think you're gonna have a better time in hell. Alright, let's continue this.
Technical extrication, and medical care. They're a perfect fit as a primary assistance partner for FEMA, USAID, and other local-led disaster responses. Hell, even NASA uses them.
Huh?
PJs don't just walk into the recruiting office that's badass. In order to become a PJ, candidates can expect a long and grueling journey ahead of them. With that said,
I have looked into it, and their training is brutal.
The pipeline to becoming a PJ is one of the longest in the U.S. military. As we discussed earlier, PJs are a jack of all trades. It takes a lot of time and effort to develop those skills that many service members will rely on in future missions. From start to finish, a PJ candidate can expect to take around 2 years before they don that maroon beret. They'll attend courses ranging from jump school, dive school, free fall, SEER, medical courses, the list goes on and on. But don't think that once a newly minted PJ who just got done with the pipeline is 100% ready to go, running and gunning and saving lives. The pipeline is where they learn the fundamental building blocks of their foundation, and their training has only just begun. Because of their broad skill sets, they are continually engaged throughout their time as a PJ to stay sharp on their skills. When you see a PJ, you'll know they're one of the best of the best, because the path to becoming a PJ weeds out around 80% of those who are up for the challenge. That's one of the
That's still lower than I expected.
special operations community. The PJs don't just let
I thought they were like
anyone
90% pass fail rate. I mean,
to even be considered, applicants must possess the minimum requirements laid out by AFSPEC War Recruiting and must be able to crush the IFT. Formerly known as the PAST, the initial fitness test is one of the filters that PJs use to weed out those who aren't in good enough shape. The IFT consists of 2 underwater swims, a surface swim, push-ups, sit-ups, pull-ups, and a 1.5-mile run. While there are minimum scores for most of these events, applicants must crush the minimums to even be considered. These high standards maintain the high bar that is set by the PJ community. At the end of the day, PJs are the embodiment of their motto, these things we do that others live. They're willing.
That's a good question. Why is there no swimming in the Marine Corps PFT? Okay. We're literally supposed to be a amphibious force, but we don't do swimming in our PFT. Yes, we do. Yes, Marines do training in swimming in their basic training, but
Embodiment of their motto.
I think you have to get.
These things we do that others may live. They're willing to go anywhere at any time by whatever means necessary to retrieve.
I think you have to get re-swim qualified every 2 years.
Soft job in the Air Force. We've done a video discussing other Air Force Special Operations jobs. Go give it a look if you're interested.
Okay, so it was part of that other video. They just. Yeah, I'm sorry about adding an extra video in. It's just. Pararescue, as much. I will shit on Air Force all the time. Pararescue deserves that respect. So, if you liked the video, thumbs up. If you didn't, thumbs down. Subscribe to see more. And I'll see you guys next time. Peace.